The big story that you just put in your rearview mirror being Coach K's final game as head coach of Duke, and you and the rest of the team just absolutely crushed it. I mean, you got me right in the gut when I'm sitting there watching, and you're saying, is this the last time that he's just huddled with his team? And it did turn out to be that way. What was that like for you, that perspective?
Again, you play so much of this stuff in advance, like an athlete tries to imagine and envision a successful moment. You know, for us in broadcasting, we try to see all these scenarios and wonder how we would react, because I don't script things. I have things floating around in my head as far as where I might drop in a piece of information. But most of it is feel and instincts. And the movie, though, that was going on in my head as I followed Duke first and second weeks from Greenville, South Carolina to San Francisco, and this team was evolving and getting wiser and older as each game passed, I kind of thought this just might be their moment. I thought he might ride off into the sunset with the championship. But, you know, I know sports doesn't always follow those kind of preconceived notions. And I was well aware going into every one of those games that it could be the last. So it was Saturday night was epic. I mean,
it
for
sure
North
was.
Carolina to do what it did 4 weeks apart, it's inconceivable. If you go back 5 weeks ago, and somebody would tell you that, hey, Carolina's not only going to win next week at Cameron in Coach K's send-off, they're going to beat them at the Final Four and knock them out. Yeah, okay, I believe that. But it was just raw. Again, we're in the reactionary business, and that was a moment that it was kind of hard to get your mind around, that he was walking off that floor for the last time, even though you knew it was coming.
You know, and we make so much in our business. We hype, there's hyperbole, there's exaggeration, however you want to put it. But you could make the case that was the biggest rivalry game in any sport ever because of the history between the two, the coach who's on one of the benches, and the fact that it could be his last game. You could really make that case. I mean, I was talking about Bears-Packers in the NFC Championship game, or Yankees-Red Sox in an ALCS, but neither of those matchups involved somebody of Coach K's stature and potential, final game. You could make that case. That was the greatest rivalry setup ever.
You can make that case. No question, you can make the case. I think you can actually close the case when it comes to college basketball. That way you transcend the college game and try to take it to other sports. You know, I'm sure people have their own view of it, but here's the way I look at it. Coach K was the face of college basketball since he won his first championship in 1991. Of course, he backed it up with a win the next year, which absolutely solidified his stature in the sport. And ever since those teams of 91, 92, and the Leitner and Hill and Hurley group, Duke became either you love him or hate him. But Coach K was always the constant. He was always the one that was going to be there. The players could change, but he's still there. Now, how many figures in sport, you and I cover them all, especially you, how many of them could you say have been the face of their sport for the last 31 years? Now, I've had this, it's not even a debate, really. I've had this discussion with some people after I first raised it. Take Tiger Woods here. This is the 25-year anniversary this week of the win for the ages. So I'll say Tiger is unquestionably the face of golf for the last 25 years. Now, in and out of that, there are stretches where, of course, he wasn't able to compete because of injury, etc. But we'll give Tiger 25 years. We'll give Brady 20 years, even though Peyton Manning, you could argue, was in there as well as the face of the sport during a lot of those years. Or you could say Bill Belichick, but, you're going to top that out at about 20 years. So where do you turn? LeBron? No, a long time, but It's not 31 years. Kobe, it's not even, 31 years. Where do you turn and say anybody in the American sports landscape has been the face of their sport for 31 years? And there is no one other than Mike Krzyzewski. So that was part of what it was like, saying goodbye to that. This is spanning generations. I feel so fortunate that, I know him well, and I got to call all of his championships, and I got to be there for a lot of his highs and some of his lows, where they didn't win the title or they didn't get to the championship game like this year. But college basketball will miss him. I mean, he did a lot of things to make the game great, and I got to say, he rallied this team. Sure, they were a 2 seed, so they weren't a Cinderella. They weren't an 8 seed like North Carolina, but I think a lot of people felt going into the tournament after Duke beat them and then Virginia Tech beat them in the ACC tournament. I think a lot of people thought they might be an early knockout, but they made it to the Final Four, and hats off. I want to just say this before I move past it. Hubert Davis is going to be, I think he's going to be a legendary coach. And I was just inspired by him, being around him this weekend, having a chance to have some face-to-face chats with him and to hear the way he handles his team and the way his philosophy works in basketball and in life. I know this is a hard one for the Tar Heel Nation to get over. I've been there on that side as a fan. Actually, the same date, April the 4th, 1983. My beloved Houston Cougars. There's no team that means more to me than that Houston basketball program. But we lost on April 4th in 83 to North Carolina State. And I'm going to tell you, Rich, I'm not over it. Okay? I'm not over it. I'm truly, I'm not trying to embellish it. I am not over it. I was there in the pit in Albuquerque, and I know it was 39 years ago, but it still hurts. So the thing is, after meeting with Hubert, he's got North Carolina basketball back to relevancy. I mean, it's hard to imagine you could even say that. And I can just see there are going to be great things to follow for him. This one stings today. It's impossible to kind of let go of it because you had him down 16. You had him 15 at halftime. And that's jarring. But he's going to do great things.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.